Hello, everybody. This is Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw. And it's Monday. You know what that means. It's time for a tier list, and I have the incredible Shurko with me to help. Hi, Shurk.
What's up, man?
Something.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here, dude. Something I'm really excited about is you said that we might disagree a little bit more on this one. You have some controversial takes.
Well, the patch is very fresh, so I feel like, I didn't try out all the Pokemon yet. I'm sure you haven't tried out all of them yet, so I feel like we will see some disagreements. Is that the word? As opposed to last time, where we were pretty much just,
That's true. That
a little
last
bit too
patch,
agreeable.
yeah, it had been out for so long. I think that me, you, and Crashy, when we were recording that, we kind of agreed on pretty much everything. I'll walk you through our tiers here, Shurko, and you can let me know if you think we need more than this. As always,
Okay.
we have the God tier. Only one Pokemon can be in the God tier. It's the Pokemon that I feel like is the most important in the game right now. We have Shurko's A. So last time we had Shurko's D, and I thought, well, why don't we give you the A category this time? So now we have Shurko's A. We have the B tier. Still got the B tier. And then we have the Please Don't tier. We could change the name of that, but that's the tier of Pokemon where it's like, oof, these Pokemon are rough. Rough, rough, rough. Do you think we need another tier inside here, or is this enough?
I think we should add a C tier between B and Please Don't.
Okay.
I'm sure you can think of one of your fancy names right there, because otherwise, remember last time we pretty much just already had the A and the B tiers completely overloaded. I think it would be even.
There we go. We have the new C.
Yeah.
Exciting. So we've got the God tier, Shurko's A, B tier, still got the B tier, the new C tier, and the Please Don't tier. I'm not sure if we just want to go back and forth here, throwing Mons on here. We can save maybe some of the A and God tier Pokemon for a little bit. Here's what I'll say. Before we decide who the God tier is, let's sort everyone, and then from the A's, we'll pick one. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
That's a good idea.
perfect. Why don't you start us out, Shirk? Where do you want to start? Maybe we'll start with a category. Like, give us a category, and we'll go through each Mon in that category.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's start with the B tier.
Oh, the D tier. Wait.
The B.
Oh no,
B
I'm
like.
saying like give me a category of Mon. So like supporter, defender.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
no
Okay.
problem.
Let's go through one that I think changed a lot.
Okay.
So let's go through the defenders.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it changed a whole bunch. You got that Blastoise nerf, Greedent added to the game. So, which Pokemon would you like to start with?
Let's start off with one that didn't really get changed at all. Let's go with the Crustal.
All right, Crustal. Where do you see Crustal sitting on this list?
So
Oh, and
last
and let
time,
me sorry to interrupt you, Shirk. I should say this. When we're making this tier list, we talked about it before. This tier list is going to be focused on 99% of play inside this game. So I'm not saying this is the absolute highest ranked play 5-on-5 tier list, and also it might not take into account what happens in very, very low ranks, but for 99% of players, we're talking about where these Pokemon fall within the meta. Does that sound fair?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
Perfect. Okay, sorry to cut you off. Please tell me about your
No
thoughts on
worries, no worries.
Crustal.
Okay, so I think last time we put Crustal even in an A tier, since again we're talking about 90% of the player base here, which most of us play solo queue a lot, or maybe duo queue with one of our buddies. So I still think this is one of the better Pokemon for that type of scenario. So yeah, I would still leave it either in a high B tier or in a low Shurkus A tier, but probably more in that B tier. What do you think?
I'm kind of with you here. So my thoughts are, I want to see where the other defenders shake up, because I think it might be smart for us to sort of rank order people within the classes a little bit, but I'm agreeing with you. I think especially solo queue, I think this is one of the best solo queue mons. I think it's slept on so hard. And even duos, just because it gives you the ability to be everywhere inside the game. However, it is in a stacked group of Pokemon. There are so many good defenders. So yeah, let's leave it here in high B for now, and maybe we'll move it when we get the rest of the defenders in there.
Yep.
I'm going to start with, let's do this. I'm going to start with Greedent, actually. Just got added. It's a defender, and we could talk about Greedent a little bit. So outside of Greedent having a bug and being, you know, a little broken because of that, Pokemon have bugs all the time, so I'm not taking that into account. I honestly think they have released yet again another chaotically powerful Mon, and I would say that Greedent is an A-tier Pokemon right now. That's my opinion of Greedent. The damage is so high, the sustain is so high, the way it can take objectives, the way it can fight in lane. I don't know, I think it's really amazing. What are your thoughts on Greedent?
I fully agree with you. It's honestly absolutely broken.
I know.
Super difficult to play though.
Wait, before you keep going, can you say it's broken? Can you say it's insane?
It is insane. It is more than just insane. It is, hold up, sharpen your ears, cowboy.
Okay.
It is insanely broken.
Whoa, I love it. I feel like that's the go-to Shurko impression is you're like, it's broken, it's insane, this build is OP.
Sure.
I love it. I love hearing it. Yeah, and I agree with you. Please keep going.
Anyway, as I said, it is difficult to play though. I mean, really the most broken playstyle, in my opinion, is that Covet and Belch playstyle, where you can really move around with the Belch. But the drifting is actually really genuinely difficult. And it has a huge, like a high skill cap. It's really cool. I'm just really sad that they took Greedent for that. In my opinion, it's a cool one. But I didn't play Generation 8 yet, and I feel like lots of people don't really like this Pokemon that much. Lots of people were disappointed. They wanted to see the Decidueye coming for the Halloween update. But yeah, in my opinion, still a great release. Definitely broken, but hey, we'll take it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also noticed that a lot of the sentiment around this Pokemon was just, why? Why Greedent? And I would have to agree. As someone who liked Gen 8, I still don't really know what the thought was behind it. But hey, I mean, it's cool to have a Mon like this in the game, although I do think, yeah, that Covet Belch build is brutal. It is brutal. All right, hit me with another defender.
Okay, so let's take a look at Snorlax then.
Okay.
Didn't get changed at all either with the new patch, but has been really strong over the past couple months, is still very strong. And I would honestly leave it in that B tier. I would personally move it over the Crustal, unless we're strictly talking about solo queue carrying, which again, we aren't. So yeah, I think Snorlax in a good spot right there.
Yeah, this is an interesting place for Snorlax because we see Snorlax in the top level of competitive play. You see a decent amount of Snorlax. It's a very good Mon. And in that level of play, it's better than a Crustal for sure. However, you know, if you're playing it solo, it can be a really tough Mon to solo because it does require your team to at least understand what's going on to kind of support you in doing what a Snorlax does, right? So I actually kind of think you're about right here. I would say either low A or high B. I would definitely put it above Crustal, and if that means it has to move up to A here, that makes sense to me. Competitively, I think it's a very, very amazing choice. But then solo, it's pretty rough, I would say, actually.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, let me take...
I think we'll leave it there, yeah.
Yeah, let's leave it here for now. Let me talk about... I don't know what to say about Blastoise yet. I'm thinking on Blastoise. Let me talk about Mamoswine. This is tough. So I want to rank all of these defenders here. I want to maybe rank them a little more accurately. And the tough thing I'm having with Mamo is that I think it does sit in this tier as well. It's not an A tier Pokemon in my opinion, but it is very good. I don't think any of the defenders are bad. So that's where I'm kind of like, dang it, what do you do? What do you do with all these defenders stacked inside this one tier? I don't know. I think Mamo's really pretty dang good. What are your thoughts?
I think the defender role is just really stacked, and I mean, if the developers do it like that, we can't just forcibly put Mamo in that new C tier. It definitely deserves to be in the B tier here. I think it is just a really strong Pokemon, but it's definitely below these two. Probably competitively, in my opinion, I would put it above the Crustal, but again, just strictly solo queue, the Crustal is going to have much more impact on the entire game. Duo queue, trio queue as well. So I think this is a pretty good spot where you put it already.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is I think solo, Crustal and Mamo both in front of Snorlax, but in, you know, more like structured play or even playing duos, I think Snorlax is probably ahead of these two. Mamo is such a great duo mon too. It's so good in lane. Oh, these defenders are so good, man. All right, which one do you want to take? You want to talk about Slowbro or you want to talk about Blastoise next?
I'm going to take the Blastoise since I have already played it a couple games.
Okay.
And honestly, the nerf was definitely big. It's really big on paper as well. I checked the actual numbers and I believe it was pretty much 25% less damage on the Unite move. Both the base damage and the scaling from the special attack. So yeah, Hydro Pump also lost like 20% damage. Definitely a big nerf, but keep in mind, this is still a defender at the end of the day.
I know.
It is all about the CC, and it still has that crazy CC. So I really think it is still extremely strong, and I'm not even sure if it's weaker than the Mamoswine. I'm not sure if it's weaker. For competitive, once again, all of these are better than the Crustal, because what Crustal does is just this macro gameplay where it goes for these scores, where it goes into the enemy jungle with the Stealth Rock and steals everything away, which you really can't pull off with coordinated teams where the enemies are sharply looking at that minimap. So, but honestly, for just general gameplay, I feel like Blastoise probably better than the Mamoswine for me, so I would move it up a spot, but it's definitely not in Shurko's A tier anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see it being here. And again, it's just this tough thing about all these defenders is I think they're all so good. And even the nerfs, I still see Blastoise, and it's still really difficult to deal with. I mean, it needed that Unite nerf. It was too much. You shouldn't have a defender doing that much damage with its Unite. Speaking of greed.
For sure.
All right, let's talk about Slowbro here. Slowbro is a weird one because Slowbro, I think I actually see it popping up a bit more competitively, and it's because of some of the coordination that you can do with this mon is really incredible. I mean, telekinesis and its Unite move, being able to isolate certain people from the enemy team is so incredibly valuable. So I am seeing this pop up more and more competitively. Solo, it's a really hard mon to play solo. Really hard.
I agree. The thing about Slowbro is it actually received a very big buff this patch. Amnesia, I know Amnesia is not something you want to take in competitive, where you know you're going to have a good Slowbro player who practiced telekinesis enough to be confident to hit it all the time. So of course telekinesis is going to be superior, but if you're playing that solo queue play style or even duo queue and you really want to make that Slowbro work, I would recommend you to try the Amnesia. It really heals you so much. It makes you super tanky, one of the tankiest Pokemon right now. So yeah, I'm also not sure where to place this. I would probably leave it there, maybe put it in the new C at the top of it, because again, you're not going to carry your team at all with this. You're basically a tanky support. You're just there to root down the enemy Speedster or whatever carry they have. Maybe that Venusaur, it's a great counter to that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely a good Pokemon right now, especially with that Amnesia buff, a little bit better in solo queue, but I feel like compared to all these other stacked defenders, I think we have to move it down a notch a little bit, in my opinion, especially when we're not talking strictly about competitive.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the issue with Slowbro is, especially playing alone, it's just one of the hardest mons to influence the game enough with. Even if you're with a buddy, I mean, you've got to you've got to be very careful about what you're doing with this mon because a lot of your allies aren't going to help you. So then, as you're talking about, you're thinking, okay, well then I'll do the Amnesia build. But even if you're doing that, there are other defenders on this list that I think are more impactful in a sustain and objective stealing, and I just think, yeah, I'm kind of with you that in most cases it's new C, and then strangely enough, in some high level competitive play, it's top of B or into A, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a weird one, but I do think we've got to start separating these mons a little bit. I think, unfortunately, Slowbro most often finds itself in New C. By the way, New C doesn't mean an unplayable Pokemon. That would be the please don't area. You could still absolutely play Slowbro. It does have a lot of... It has a lot of trouble, especially by itself.
Yep.
All right. We talked defenders. Let's talk speedsters. Let's talk speedsters here. I'll start with one. Maybe I'll start with an easy one. I think Zeraora is an A-tier Pokemon without question. I think it's great in the jungle. It's actually pretty good in lane. Once it becomes level 8, it's an absolute game-changing Pokemon. You can wipe entire enemy teams with it. You can chase down carries with it. It's I think you can take objectives. Zeraora is just so good, and I can't believe they actually didn't nerf it at all, really.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, the thing about Zeraora is, even in high competitive metas, it can even flex into that top lane when Lucario is banned out or when they don't allow the Lucario. And again, it just one-shots anything with the Unite move and the Discharge. Discharge is pretty much a Unite move by itself with a very low cooldown. Just a really strong Pokemon. It definitely deserved a nerf. Was it one of those that are extremely broken that it had to be nerfed, like a Lucario or a Venusaur? I don't think it's at that stage. I think it's really just at the bottom of the top tier strongest Pokemon in the game, but that still makes it extremely broken. So yeah, I agree with you right here, and I would leave it right at that spot behind the Greedent.
Yeah, I would as well. You're right. I mean, Discharge sometimes does feel like a Unite move. It's pretty nuts. I think it's just incredible. What speedster would you like to talk about, Shurk?
Okay, let's talk about one that actually received a buff, and we might disagree on that one. So let's talk about the Gengar.
Okay, Gengar.
So I would place that. I think last time we placed it in the please don't tier.
I think we probably had it down here, yes.
Yeah. So the thing about Gengar, even last time, that was something that I was a little bit disagreeing with, you know? But you and Crashy were so adamant about it being in a please don't, and I'm a little bit of a soy boy, you know, in front of Crashy, the content king,
yeah,
and you, the content cowboy, you just get intimidated.
I get it.
I was a little bit too scared to speak up, but I always felt like this is actually a very decent Pokemon if you go for that Dream Eater and Shadow Ball build. Now that being said, I think lots of people are a little bit too excited about this buff, because what did they do in the end? They honestly only gave it some lifesteal. Is that gonna help it that much? With Dream Eater you already had a decent amount of healing, you had a decent amount of outplay potential. With that, you definitely heal a little bit more now. It helps you in that jungle, in that center position. You don't have to go back as much. But let's be real, after every single gank, you pretty much just go back anyway because it's so quick in this game. It's not like in other MOBAs where you have to wait a long time until you backport. It only takes 4 seconds to teleport back to base, and then you have these speed lanes that speed you up super fast. So I don't think this buff did that much. Last patch, I would have already placed it in the new C, and I would still place it in the new C at the same position. I think it's one of the worst junglers, but not the worst.
You don't think it's the worst speedster?
Okay, hold up. The worst speedster? Yeah, but there's only like
Okay.
3 speedsters, right?
Okay.
How many speedsters? Like 4?
Yeah, the 4, right?
The thing
Yeah.
is, I count Gardevoir as a jungler, so, so that's the thing.
Okay.
And I count Garchomp as a jungler as well.
I can see that
these
too.
two are truly unplayable in the lane, right?
Okay. Well, here's what I'll say about Gengar. I actually mostly agree with everything you're saying. I'll say in higher ranked gameplay, it's one of the worst Pokemon I think you can see on your team. Not the worst, but one of the worst Pokemon you could see on your team. I think the buff helps it, but I actually agree. I don't think the buff is that crazy beneficial to Gengar. I think it's good. It's nice that it got a little something, but you're right. It already had the Shadow Ball Dream Eater. Maybe they just, the Hex build is a little better now. I do think it's edged up a little bit, and I'll agree with putting it at the bottom of New C. Although, I'll tell you, if you're in the Master Rank and you're picking this Pokemon over a lot of other Mons, it is a little eye-rolly,
It's true for sure, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk about a speedster here. I'll talk about an easy one. I'll talk about our buddy Talonflame. I think Talonflame is an A-tier Pokemon. I could see in some competitive environments that you might not take Talon just because it doesn't fit into a perfect meta. Although for a little while it was in tournament play. Its damage output is absolutely insane. As a carry, it might even be a better carry when you're playing solo than Zeraora, although that's a little debatable because they're both amazing. I think Talonflame, for, again, 99% of players, is an absolute A-tier choice for sure. The only reason I put it behind Zera is because it doesn't lane like Zera can lane. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, this Pokemon is absolutely insane. It does so much damage with both its movesets, although I prefer Fly. And yeah, for solo queue, I would actually very strongly say that it is better than Zeraora because of the goal getter potential. You can take the goal getter on it, you can fly over these walls, you can even take flame charge as well, so you have more just dashes, not targeted dash like the aerial ace, and you can really just fool the enemies, go behind their back lines and score a ton of goals. So I definitely see Talonflame carry much more games than I see Zeraora, but Zeraora in general is a stronger, like just from the character perspective, if we ignore the scoring potential and stuff like that, Zeraora is definitely better, but yeah, Talonflame super good.
Yeah, I think it's just amazing. Well, what do you think about Absol? Where do you want to put Absol?
Oh yeah, true, Absol. So Absol, I actually think it was buffed, okay? Not too much, but it received a little bit of an indirect buff. What did we put it in last time? I think it was in the C tier.
It was probably in C, yeah. Maybe it was in high B, but it was probably in C.
Yeah.
Or sorry, low B, I meant.
Yeah, you can probably put it at the top of C for now, until we feel some more with that. Because, so the reason why I think it was buffed, and it's definitely not as weak anymore, I think it's in the middle of the pack of junglers. Once again, Rotom was buffed. So Absol is one of these Pokemon that are really, really not good for that Dreadnought fight.
Right.
Because it's just not good at team fighting. The first one you can kind of manage if the enemy jungler doesn't have their Unite move yet, because your Unite move really isn't that great compared to most other Unite moves like a Cinderace coming out of the jungle. Maybe even a Greninja. They're just much safer with their Unite moves. Yours is a little bit wonky. It takes so long to come out. It just doesn't deal that much damage for how long the animation is. The enemies can easily dodge it. And yeah, but because Rotom is now very viable as a strategy, in my opinion at least, you can talk about that as well in your Absol response. But yeah, I feel like it's much better because you can just ignore that Dreadnought fight. You can just get fed up top, and oftentimes people are still gonna rotate to that Dreadnought first, so you will end up in a 2v2, in a 1v1 maybe top, and in those situations Absol is extremely strong. If you can then snowball that lead, those points scored with the Rotom, you can really get a huge level lead and do a lot better than on the previous patch.
Yeah, I mean, that all checks out to me. I think that makes total sense. I still think there are other Mons that I'd rather have on the team. Of course, there are already in the A tier, you know, if we're just talking about speedsters. But I would probably rather see an Absol than a Gengar. And you're right that the Rotom shift is actually really interesting, because I have seen some teams kind of completely dominate the top lane and sort of leave people bottom to not lose goal and hopefully steal Dread, but just completely wipe the top lane both goals now with this new Rotom buff. So I do really like seeing that, and Absol does well in that. I agree, maybe high C, maybe even low B, but the thing about Absol is, you know, I feel like it's kind of a higher skill Pokemon than most, so a lot of Absols you run into are not that useful, I would say.
That's true, that's true.
But yeah, I think that's a good placement for it. All right, so we went through the speedsters. What category would you like to work on next?
Let's go through the attackers.
All right, great. Who do you want to start with?
I want to start with Sylveon, because that is something we didn't rank yet after its nerf. The tier list that we made already was previous to that nerf, where it was completely in God tier, it was completely broken.
Yes.
But I still think, even after these huge nerfs, I think right now the best build is Hyper Voice and Calm Mind.
Yep.
And I would still put it in the A tier. It still has amazing early game as soon as it hits level 4. It scales pretty decently into the late game, despite having these early game spikes, like a level 10 Unite, level 10 upgrade on your Hyper Voice, level 8 Unite move, stuff like that. Usually Pokemon like that don't scale too well into the late game, but Calm Mind giving you that bonus special attack and Hyper Voice just scaling really well with special attack makes it still really strong. And yeah, I think it's still an amazing Pokemon. I still use it a lot to, for solo queue. I think it's really, really nice for that. Yeah, what do you think?
It's my solo queue go-to Mon. I don't think it's the best solo queue Mon. I think the best might be maybe someone like Talonflame or something, maybe Greninja, I don't know. But I will say, yeah, I don't think the nerf destroyed it at all. I think it's still competitively viable, and for all the reasons you said, it's especially solo queue viable. At level 4, you are already a force to be reckoned with. At level 6, you have your next move, Calm Mind. And then at level 8, you have your Unite move. So you almost always have your Unite move for whatever objective fight you're having. You do well in lane the whole time. Your damage doesn't really fall off. You can help secure objectives. I agree with you. I think it's an A tier Pokemon for sure. Yeah, I think Sylveon's great. I'll talk about another attacker right now. You know, okay, let's do Cramorant. Cramorant's a weird one. Because I think Cram's pretty good, but just with all the stuff going on in the meta right now, I just feel like Cram's falling harder and harder. So I feel like it's still not a bad Pokemon. Its Unite is still very, very good. I think solo queue, you could play the dive build probably competitively. You'd definitely play the Surf Hurricane for the CC. Even then, I just feel like I'm not seeing a lot of Cram lately. And for that reason, I would say it's low B, high C. And yeah, especially solo. I think it's a really hard Mon to solo also.
Yeah, the thing is, I really don't see it often anymore either. Now that you say it, I realize that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why. I think it's still gonna be decent. I don't think it would, I definitely don't think it's in a C tier. Low B, maybe even medium B tier, in my opinion.
Okay.
The thing is, I feel like that Hyper Voice Sylveon fits kind of a similar, it doesn't really fit a similar playstyle, they're very different, but it fits the exact same lane, right? I think Sylveon is supposed to be played in that bottom lane, just like that Cramorant was, right? Mm-hmm. And for that, I would always rather see that Sylveon.
Same.
And again, they also nerfed the Surf a little bit on that previous patch with the mobile release, and Surf is for sure still probably better in both competitive and solo queue. I like Dive a lot. I even scammed you into thinking Dive is amazing, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I agree with you, it's in an awkward spot. I think nothing happened to it, but everything around it is just shifting that it struggles more and more. So yeah, somewhere around there, I think we will fill the B tier with a little bit more Pokemon that will go below it.
Yeah.
Maybe move it over, like past the Mamoswine, but it's difficult to compare a defender with an attacker anyway, so we're just, you know.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, maybe more attackers will kind of sort it out. And you're right. I think one of the things is you don't change this mon a lot, but you change others. And then you change others and you have to go, well, do I pick this mon over someone else who maybe has gotten a little more love lately? Like Sylveon obviously released completely insane and broken, but now it's still really, really great. And Cram, I agree with you. If I were to have a choice between Cram and Sylveon, I think I'd always rather have Sylveon in that slot. Just right now, that's where my head's at too.
Yep.
All right. How about another attacker?
Okay, so let's take a look at Cinderace.
Okay, Cinderace.
We can confidently put that into the A tier. Didn't get nerfed, still absolutely insane. I think it could have gotten nerfed, similar to that Zeraora. If we're talking only competitive, I think it's above Zeraora. We can agree on that, right?
Yes.
But if we are talking solo queue, you're still gonna be that squishy range character, which needs a little bit of protection by your teammates. So if you're playing duo with a good support, it's probably after the Zeraora. If you're playing completely solo queue, I think the Talonflame is above it, but you can place it wherever in these spots, and I think it's gonna be right. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We said we were going to disagree this list, but clearly we refuse. So I think what's going to happen with Cinder here, competitively, I think it's one of the best in the game. Especially for how it chunks down like the tankier Pokemon. No one can take out the defenders like Cinderace. He does it with ease. But solo, I think it actually drops below every single one of these mons solo. I just think it's easier to play these mons for the most part. Maybe it beats out Sylveon, but you're right. If we want to split the difference between competitive play, solo play, duos, all that, I think it probably falls right about there. Maybe above Talon because of how good it is competitively, but Zeraora is just good everywhere, so I kind of think Zera hangs out there. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's talk about Ninetales. Alolan Ninetales. The more time I spend with Alolan Ninetales solo, the more I see Alolan Ninetales in competitive play, or I guess I should say not in competitive play. I actually think Alolan Ninetales right now might be a high C Pokemon. That's kind of where I'm seeing this Pokemon at right now. I like both of its builds. I like what it does. I just feel like you have unstoppable Pokemon you're dealing with a lot. You have no mobility. You're not outputting that much damage. I kind of think in the meta right now, you're not as useful as you used to be as Alolan Ninetales. So I would maybe put it here, but I'd love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, who would have thought? I fully agree with you. The thing is, especially the most key part, what you just said, is that there's a lot of unstoppable Pokemon. They keep releasing these defenders that just keep running around. You can't stop them at all. And you are a Pokemon that doesn't have any escapes. It is literally a sitting duck. It has a shield from its Unite move, and it has that damage reduction from the Aurora Veil, but other than that you can't escape. Your only defense is to perma-freeze the enemy so they can't get to you, and you can't do that with that Greedent. You can't do it with the Blastoise either when it's using its Rapid Spin or its Surf. I mean, you can't do it to high horsepower, I'm pretty sure, of Mamoswine. Yeah, it's a big problem. So I would even put it lower. I'm not kidding. This is one of these Pokemon that are so easy to play, right? So whenever you see one of your teammates pick it, you're kind of glad because you know it's pretty useful in the laning phase with that powder snow, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah.
So super early, it's already very nice. You want to lane with it. I always enjoy laning with one of them, but I just always think, okay, this guy is super cool because he's giving me fun in the early game by supporting me, but he's not gonna have any fun past 6 minutes into this game or something because it really just feels so useless. So again, if everyone was really good at the game, or at least really good mechanically at fighting, I think Gengar is 100% more like better than this. So I would put it at the bottom, but because that is an ideal world, that won't happen, I would probably put it behind Absol. I think if I see an Absol on my team, I'm happier than seeing this thing.
Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate because it's actually one of my favorite mons to play, and for a long time I've thought this was a very, very good Pokemon. But yeah, the thing you nailed, the mobility and the unstoppable mons, it just feels like, well, you're taking away what Ninetales can do. Like, stop taking away my ability. And then you've got all these mons that are so mobile, that are just like, it's so difficult to even get them sometimes because your stun is so close range. I feel like they might need to increase the range on that Dazzling Gleam a little bit now. But yeah, I'm with you, you know. High rank play, you're right. I see a Pokemon like Ninetales and I think, woof, we're gonna have a lot of trouble late game. That's a late game crutch. Not crutch. What's the opposite of a crutch? What doesn't help you walk? It's a late game spike in your foot. That's what it is. Great. Was that mine? Do you want to pick one?
Yeah, let's take... We didn't do anything, we didn't put anything in the please don't tier. So let's go ahead and take that poor little Gardevoir. Once again, didn't receive a buff. I would put it in the please don't. I don't remember where we put it last time. Maybe we put it in one tier higher, but I really think it's a please don't. Whenever I see that one on my team, I know it's the opposite of Ninetales, quite literally, because it's so useless early game. Most of them go into the lane. I think you should jungle it, but you really shouldn't just play it at all because if you're jungling it, you're taking away the spot of a Cinderace, of a Talonflame, of a Zeraora, and that is shooting yourself in the foot even more. So this one is not a spike in your foot, it's a whole bullet in your foot. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend anyone to pick this.
This is actually a moment where I think people are going to be surprised because I fully agree. I have to agree, man. You know, here's the thing with Gardevoir. I say this a lot when we're talking about these tier lists because I always see comments that say, I play Gardevoir, I have this win rate, and I'm very, very good. And it's not that I don't believe you or think you can be amazing with really any Pokemon in the roster. You definitely can. It's just that, man, this Pokemon has so many issues, and its damage output for how tanky the meta can be at times just feels like it doesn't have enough for how much of a bullet or spike in your foot you are getting by having this Pokemon on your team for, I don't know, 80% of the game, maybe 70% of the game. It's not that useful. Then again, from time to time, it gets fed and it really pops off. But I think that's rare, and it's tough to say, well, if it's the best Gardevoir in the world, it's good. Well, that's true of any mon. So I could say, I saw someone play Gengar the other day, and it was the god tier Gengar. But the truth is, in general, I think Gardevoir is in one of the worst places in the entire game right now. I have to agree with you. I think it's a please don't.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Here's an interesting one. Let's talk about this. I think Pikachu's a lot better now. I actually think Pikachu might be like a higher B Pokemon right now. I'm not kidding you. So, I don't know where you fall with Pika. I don't know if you've been testing out the Thunder build. I've actually seen it run in that tri-lane competitively lately. I think the Thunder buff has helped Pikachu a lot, and it used to be a Pokemon that I think hung out in kind of the C tier or whatever, but I think it's actually in the B tier, and in some ways I might see it over a Cramorant.
Well, 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 who would have thought? I fully agree.
God, no, God.
See, the thing is, I already ran the Thunder and Thunderbolt build before the buff because I felt like I only play solo queue, and whenever you are in solo queue, Pikachu is amazing for the laning phase. You can really bully these solo queue players, which are gonna be not too coordinated in that 2v2. They're gonna let you steal those Odinos, and then you get a huge lead. But then late game, you're just completely useless if you went for the Electro Ball. But with Thunder, it was kind of okay. It was definitely more useful than Ninetales late game, which I used to always believe Pikachu and Ninetales are somehow in that same ballpark where they're amazing early, but they fall off hard. But yeah, Pikachu now with the Thunder, I only tried it a couple games and it seemed pretty good. Would I put it above Cramorant? I am not sure, but I always played it more than Cramorant anyway, so I was already biased. I'm not sure how biased you are, but I'm just gonna go ahead and fully agree with you, Mr. Cowboy.
Great. Well, you know, I really think this is one of the mons that probably got the largest buff from this recent update. And again, just from watching some of the tournaments this weekend, I was so happy to see it in that tri-lane, and it actually was performing really, really well. And it's because you've got the sustained damage from Thunder. It's still got some CC with Thunderbolt. It has a good Unite for most of the game, so it helps out through a lot of the game, and it's really strong in that laning phase, as you said before. So I think that's a good place for it. All right, let's talk about, do we only have one left? Venusaur?
And Greninja is it?
Oh, Greninja too, yes. Which one do you want to go with?
I want to go with Greninja.
Okay.
My favorite still. I don't think it moved. I think it's still in that B tier. We had it in A tier last time, but this time A is A, and last time it was A++, I believe. So B was A. So yeah, I would still put it there. I've been playing it a lot more lately, and strictly solo queue, I would put it at the top of B tier. I think it's really good for just solo queue carrying. If you are amazing, it just has so many options. You're basically at Speedster and a ranged attacker at the same time, so you don't fall off late game like a lot of these other Speedsters do because they're melee range. You can, as I said, the Shuriken is really good too with that double team. I think that's the best build in my opinion. So I would put it all the way up there, but I don't really watch competitive much, but I don't think this guy's played at all, right?
Very, very rarely. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you take the jungler's position, and there's so many amazing junglers. At the end of the day, just like in previous months, only one of these two characters can exist in the meta, Cinderace and Greninja. They both just fill very similar roles, but for solo queue, Greninja can even be better than Cinderace in some cases because you have that outplay potential. But for a normal player, you know, whenever you see a Greninja on your team, I would probably put it... I think I would put it below the Pikachu.
Interesting.
But above Cramorant.
Interesting. My thought is solo, strictly solo, I think it's better than Cinder. But that comes with, like, again, this asterisk that you have to be better with it. So you're right. The thing about Greninja is its outplay potential is off the charts. And I think someone who is good with Greninja, really, really good with Greninja, you know, takes this Pokemon to a much higher level than, let's say, someone who's really, really good with Pikachu, right? Pikachu's good, but I don't think its outplay potential is as high as Greninja's. So, solo queue carry-wise, I think this is actually one of the top Pokemon choices. Competitively, yeah, you're right. It's either Greninja or Cinder, and the answer is Cinder. So you really never see Greninja much at all. You see Pikachu and Cramorant probably more competitively, but outside of the competitive environment, I actually think it mostly beats every other attacker. Mostly outside of competitive. Yeah, it's just hard.
We finally disagreed.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
Crazy. No, but I agree. Listen, I fully agree with you. after listening to your reasoning,
Oh, good.
my dear cowboy, you mesmerized me. Or what is the erotic term? Never mind. Yeah,
Seduced
Greninja.
you.
Exactly.
I seduced you into believing that Greninja is this good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, honestly, I'm down to put it in the Shurko's A tier at the very bottom. If you are feeling frisky,
Look,
we can do that.
I want to put
this is more
Greninja in
solo-
Shurko's A. For sure, I
Okay,
want to
let's
put
do it.
Greninja in Shurko's A. But I also think it does hang out in B tier here. I think for most play, here's the problem, and we run into this a lot, but if you have a bad Greninja, it's just the same as having a bad Gengar or a bad Gardevoir.
Yeah, for sure.
It's awful.
It might even be worse.
It might be.
It's so bad.
But if you have a good one, it's good. And if you're playing one of these monsters, between Greninja, Gengar, Gardevoir, you know, if you're playing any of these mons and you're good with them, I think Greninja is a top tier choice. So
Yep.
I think we'll keep it in B, maybe for now. Maybe we'll put something else
Put it
in
at the top of B.
Top of B. Okay, that sounds good to me. One more attacker, Venusaur. So Venusaur is interesting. Here's what I'll say about Venusaur. I have not played a ton of Venusaur's Petal Dance build since the nerf. But from what I've seen, it doesn't look like the nerf is that substantial to that playstyle, and its Solar Beam has been buffed. Without too much else, I would say that at least puts it at the bottom of A. However, I don't know how rough the Petal Dance build is in comparison to how it was. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I actually played this a lot. Petal Dance Giga Drain still absolutely insanely broken OPS tier, to quote my own titles. Yeah, so if you didn't see the numbers, Giga Drain was nerfed on the healing quite a bit. You can definitely notice that it heals a lot less, but the big thing is the damage reduction.
Right.
That you get from hitting the Giga Drain onto somebody. That was only nerfed by 5%, from 40 to 35.
Yeah.
So it's still really big. And then you have the body barrier and the focus band to heal you back up. So, you know, they still scale so well with that damage reduction. So it's still really difficult to take down. The Giga Drain damage didn't get nerfed. The charged basic attack damage didn't get nerfed. And those were the big heavy hitters. The Unite move base damage didn't get nerfed either. That really deals way too much damage, considering with that playstyle, it's like a siege tank. It's like a melee bruiser, more than a ranged attacker. So I really think it's still above Zeraora. I think it's still one of the best in the entire game. And they even improved the Solar Beam build. And I think if you just look at the Solar Beam build, it's still the best. It's worse than Cinderace, but I wouldn't put it in the jungle. I think it transforms that playstyle. Like it's not a jungle Pokemon anymore. It's more of a bottom laner.
Yeah.
Similar to that Sylveon. I would probably put it below the Sylveon with that build, but only very closely below, definitely above Pikachu, above Cramorant, above these other mages that fit that position.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know, the toughest thing about a mon like Venusaur is if you were to go the Solar Beam build and then you compare it to Gardevoir, you just think, well, why would I ever beat Gardevoir when I could, if I wanted to do ranged kind of mage artillery just damage, I would go Venusaur, you know? So, and then of course that with the Petal Dance Giga Drain build. Again, I haven't gotten to play it that much. I think I played it once or twice since the nerf, and it felt pretty similar. And like you said, it was just a 5% reduction. I don't mind seeing it here. I also think it might be I have a real soft spot for Zeraora, but I actually agree. This was one of the most broken Pokemon, and I don't think that they've done too much to stop that at all. At all. All-rounders or supporters next?
Let's do all-rounders.
Okay. I'll start with Lucario. He's an A-tier Pokemon. Nerf didn't do anything. He's still A-tier. Still one of the best in the game. The meta is is based around him. He falls off a little if you're playing him solo. He's not as good solo as some of these others. I would rather play Zera, Talonflame, or something like that. Maybe even Cinder, Greninja. Just because all by yourself, you might not be able to take all the objectives you want. However, you absolutely could. So, I don't know. I just think it's hard to say that he's not an A-tier Pokemon. He's so good.
Yeah. The nerf didn't do anything. It is basically 5 attack nerf on the base stats at level 1, and then it scales very slowly up to 11 base attack nerf at maximum level, which you're probably not going to reach anyway since you're a laner. So I don't know, man. Just, you know, they couldn't nerf it because they needed to buff their wallet a little bit with that new skin, with that new holoware.
Look, so, I'm wearing the hoodie, Shurko. I don't know if you know, but this is a Jake 3 conspiracy moment right here. Basically, I'm fully in agreement with you. I don't know if they even would buff Lucario, or excuse me, nerf Lucario regardless, but when you're releasing a $40 special skin, they are not going to nerf this Pokemon into the ground. I don't care if the balance team or whoever is saying this Pokemon needs to be really, really nerfed. There is no way they are going to release that skin and destroy this Mon. No way. No way. That's my thought.
Yup. It is a really good skin, though.
Oh, it's great. It's great holoware. I love it. But yeah, okay, awesome. So that's my thought on Lucario, and you agree.
I think it might be higher than the Venusaur.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. What do they do in competitive? They probably still play Lucario all the time, but maybe Venusaur a little bit less.
Maybe. I think Lucario, you know, we can start to sort out someone in this tier is going to make it to God tier, and it's probably going to be one of the, well, all of them are actually great. So I think it definitely hangs out here in A.
Let's put the last A tier Pokemon in it before we finish the...
I agree.
Before we finish the, what's it called? The all-rounders.
Yes.
And choose a God tier and then finish the all-rounders and the supporters. So what do you think? What is the last A tier here? Or actually,
there are a few,
there
maybe.
Might be more.
Yeah, here, let's finish out. We'll get everything sorted. We'll figure out God in a minute here.
Let's go for all-rounders first.
Yeah, great. Who do you want to do next?
So, I want to do the Garchomp.
Okay.
And then I'm going to also say that I don't want to do it, so please don't.
I know.
It's so sad, man.
I know.
Finally, it received a decent buff, but again, the Dragon Rush buff, it seemed huge. It was literally a 50% increase on the attack damage ratio and on the base damage.
Yep.
But that move was dealing so little to begin with, and adding 50% on top of that when you have so little, it's laughable. It really still doesn't deal enough. And then on top of that, they buffed the attack speed, which is great.
Yes.
But they buffed it more in the late game. Like, it really ramps up for the late game a lot. This was already a decent late game Pokemon. That's the whole shtick of it. You can't have a Pokemon this weak in the early game. It doesn't have any range. It has to jungle. It can't lane at all. But in the jungle, you're just completely griefing your team. You're not shooting your foot. You're rolling up with a full tank and driving over your foot and then shooting it in your face. That's basically what you're doing by picking this piece of walking purple garbage, which is very unfortunate, but it's really that bad. What I think they need to do, they need to give it something at level 5 so it can jungle. So maybe give it the Dragon Rush at level 5. So it can, because it's so important to have something at level 5 when you're that jungler, when you reach that after the first rotation. Or what you could also do, what Crashy always says, whenever you reach full stacks on the passive, you need a huge burst of move speed, because all this attack speed that you're getting is going to be completely useless if you're still not going to reach anybody, and that's what happens all the time with this.
I know. As I always say with this Pokemon, you just have to walk away from it. Just walk away for a little bit, and it's useless again. I feel so bad for this Mon, and I feel like there's so many people who want this mon to be good. I see videos of players who are, you know, phenomenal players like Phil playing Garchomp, and he's great with it. But I honestly think most of the time Garchomp is on your team. As I've said before, I want to see the statistics on this, but I guarantee if there was some way to find out what the win and loss percentages were for a team that has a Garchomp and a team that doesn't have a Garchomp, I think there would be a noticeable difference between
it would be like 30%, mate. It would be so low.
It's really rough.
It really feels that awful.
I feel so bad because I want it to be good, and I know a lot of people really like it and they want it to be good. Its play style is fun, but I really think you're almost like you're almost throwing your game for your team, especially in higher ranks. You'll never see this Pokemon competitively. Never, ever. Yeah. You'll see Gardevoir maybe, but you'll never see this. So I just think, unfortunately, it's the worst mon in the game by far. If there was another tier, if there was Shurko's D on here, I'd put it right on Shurko's D, because that's how bad it is.
Well, I would rather have that Gardevoir on Shurko's, and never mind, huh?
Yep. So,
anyway.
I don't know. I fully agree with you. The tier list is Garchomp. It's rough, man. It's so rough, and I feel bad. I feel bad saying it, and I know people really love it, but I'm sorry. Yep. It's not. I have no personal vendetta against Garchomp. It's simply a really, really rough mon for your team. It's really rough. Let's talk about something a little bit better that I actually think probably creeps into the B tier, and that's Charizard. I think Charizard it has the same issues as Garchomp laning wise, but to a much lesser degree, actually. You know, as soon as basically it gets its flamethrower at level 5, it's at least able to move a little bit faster. It's able to take some wild Pokemon, and then once it gets its Unite move, if you save that for a few key encounters throughout the game, you're actually extremely useful for your team. You take out the carries pretty well. I like where Charizard's at right now. Probably not going to see it competitively too much, which is why it can't really go much higher in B, but I think it's actually pretty decent. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a very good comparison to make to the Garchomp, because I feel like it's just a better version of Garchomp. It's also an all-rounder. It's also super reliant on the Unite move, but it hits all these little power spikes one level earlier, and even at level 1, it's just better than that Gible, the Charmander. And I used to hate laning with Charmander, yeah. Whenever I had a Charmander, I tried to avoid it, go into the other lane. But nowadays, I see myself thinking, okay, no, this is not that bad. I'm fine laning with that Charmander. If I'm playing one of the defenders that can set up for it well, if the Charmander has that scope lens, it can really do decent damage, even early game. Like I see myself winning a lot of lanes lately, having a Charmander as my teammate in there. So I'm really, yeah, I would have definitely placed it. See, this is one of the Pokemon I probably would have placed below the Gengar before recently, but now seeing it more and more, I agree with you. Could we even place it higher? I'm not sure. Probably not. Mamoswine is a beast, so probably not, but yeah. Charizard, always amazing with that Unite move, and now it's kind of okay in the laning phase as well.
Yeah, nice. All right, where would you like to see Machamp?
Okay, so the last all-rounder. Now this one, in my opinion, has to jungle. I would put it... See, this is one I would have put above the Charizard, but I would probably even put it in the new C tier. We might disagree here, but I really don't see it at all at the top of the new C tier, maybe below Absol actually. Yeah, I would put it below Absol. The thing about this Pokemon is, again, you have more of these unstoppable Pokemon now, so the huge strength that it has, the submission, just doesn't do anything anymore. Then you compare this to Absol's ganks, we don't have to compare it to the other speedsters, they're in a complete tier of their own, but again, Absol directly competes in the same tier here, in the same center position with it. I definitely think I would rather have an Absol, especially with that Rotom change now, where it is viable. The redeeming factor about Machamp is the Unite move is crazy strong.
Yeah.
But we have so many crazy strong Unite moves nowadays with Blastoise, with the Sylveon, with all these new additions. I mean, Greedent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is a pretty good placement.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to agree with you almost entirely, but I do. You know, the thing about Machamp is if its submission was always grabbing people, it would be way more useful. But you're right, there's so many times when I'm running Machamp and you run up to someone and they're in this moment where they are unstoppable or whatever, and you cannot grab them, you can't stop them from what they're doing, so you've lost this huge utility for this Pokemon, and then after that, you are a really, really close range melee Pokemon. So I think it's definitely better than Garchomp, but you know, this whole C tier feels very situational to me. Like situationally, all of these mons are pretty good, but for the most part, they're kind of and I think this is exactly where Machamp hangs out. Situationally pretty good, and for the most part, pretty Yeah.
Yep.
All right, supporter time. Time for the supporters. Let us start with, who do we want to start with? All right, I'll start with Eldegoss. I think Eldegoss is an A-tier Pokemon. It's probably competitively the most used, or it's between this and another competitively, and the reason is it's so good in that tri-lane. It's so good with multiple people around to have the shield and the healing. It's awesome in lane. It's really useful team fight wise. I think this is an A-tier choice. What do you think, Shurk?
Yeah, I agree. You need a support every single game pretty much, and there is not many of these because Wigglytuff is a support, but it's more of a defender, so there's really only this and Blissey that can heal you, that can give you like proper shields, not only on the Unite move. So yeah, I agree, this is really, really strong. For solo queue, I would probably put it way lower, only solo queue speaking, but as soon as you're duo queuing, it's much better if you're playing with a friend. It's much better for one of you to play a support or a defender than both to just play a carry. You're gonna be able to do much more that way, so this is still great for these situations, and even for pure solo queue, it's probably better than these new C-tier Pokemon in most cases, because it's always gonna be great to speed up your team with the Leaf Tornado to knock people away from them. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't play this Pokemon at all, so I would trust you where to put it in that A tier. If you want to move it up, that is your choice, but yeah.
Well, yeah, competitively, it's definitely at least here. Solo, like you said, it's probably down here, you know. That's one of the issues with some of the supports, you know. Blissey and Eldegoss, I would say, are both a little tough solo-wise because you might just get stuck in a horrible situation, and kind of like a Slowbro, you can't do that much on your own. You really can't. So I think competitively it's top tier. I think solo it's tier. If you have a good team, you're set. If you have a okay team, you're still doing all right. But if you have a bad team, you're completely useless. Like, you're almost useless because your team is useless, which is so unfortunate, you know? For now, I'll just keep it here at the bottom of A. But again, competitively, probably much higher. And then solo-wise, much lower. Somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? What's another Mon you want to talk about? Another supporter?
Let's talk about that, Mr. Mime.
Okay.
Mr. Mime, I think, is a strong A tier. Not only for, again, I don't watch competitive that much, but I assume he is picked every once in a while at least.
Pretty often, actually. Yeah, it's a common Mon in that tri-lane as well.
Okay, nice. So, yeah, I think the more people, like the longer the game is released, more people realize the value in this Pokemon. And I think this one's actually great for solo queue as well, because you have that playmaking potential, and at the same time you have the huge damage output as well. If you're able to hit the enemies into your barrier with the confusion, you can win every lane. It's similar, for me it's like a support Lucario, because Similar to Power Up Punch, you can last hit these wild Pokemon super easily in the laning phase, steal them away from the enemies. So I would actually put it... would I put it above the Sylveon? I definitely wouldn't put it above Talonflame, because, yeah, it's a really, really great jungler for solo queue and for duo trio. But I might put it above the Sylveon, because late game it also has that Unite move. The Unite move has a really low cooldown as well, so you can pop it not only for the Dreadnought fights, but a little bit more often. And it just sets up your team super well too, so it's a great way to have some solo agency as well while being the support. What do you think?
I fully agree. Yeah, you're so right, dude. I mean, the nicest thing about Mime, when you're comparing it in Eldegoss, you could probably say that highest ranked play Eldegoss might be more valuable. However, Mime is still extremely valuable, extremely important with what it does to the battlefield, how it stuns people, and its damage output is really amazing. Solo, it's great. In teams, it's great. It's an A tier for sure. It's Shurko's A. For sure.
Yeah. Let me just say something as well.
Yeah.
For the Mr. Mime, we were constantly talking about how many Pokemon are unstoppable, but Mr. Mime has that wall where you really just can't pass through if you are trying to surf through it. Like it can, as a Blastoise, for example, it can stop Talonflame's Unite move completely as well. And there's so many walls or so many choke points in this game that are literally perfectly tailored for that wall. It's absolutely perfect around the Zapdos. Everywhere you can just place that and people can't go through it. So it's one of these Pokemon that are always gonna be decent, even if they keep adding more of these unstoppable mechanics. So yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree. I'll talk about Wiggly here. Wiggly is someone that I think was an A tier Pokemon for a long time, and now I think it kind of hangs out in the midst of B. It does feel a lot more like a defender. It's still a great support. Its Sing is still very, very good. Its damage output is still feels pretty strong, and it's tanky as heck. I might even hover it in here-ish. It's somewhere in here to me. It's just right in this B tier. I think it's really, really great, but I think, you know, we can't just stack every supporter in the A tier, and I would say I don't think this is as good as the other two supporters. So I'd put it somewhere in the B tier in here. That's my thought.
Yeah, who would have thought? I fully agree once again. The thing about Wigglytuff is, this is the last Pokemon I don't own. I actually just bought Eldegoss yesterday with, I had 6k coins, and this is the last one I don't own. I played it a little bit in quick matches when it was on the free-to-play rotation, but I was running a full crit build.
It's a fun build.
Yeah, it's super fun that these moves can crit, but yeah. I don't know, I see it a lot less, but I feel like this is similar to Sylveon, where just because it's not completely broken anymore, people just stop playing it and move to the next most broken thing. So I definitely think it's still really strong for solo queue, a lot weaker now. It was definitely nerfed more for solo queue on that previous patch because they nerfed the damage a lot. And that's what you needed in solo queue to get these wild Pokemon to really carry yourself. Probably competitive still. A lot of people play it, right? I would assume.
You know, I don't see it as much, and I think the big thing, the biggest reason is that competitively the sleep was broken, so it was to the point where, you know, you wouldn't wake up no matter how much damage you took. And you could really use that to set up some amazing moments if you were coordinated. But now that you do wake up when taking enough damage, I wonder if that's why it's fallen off competitively, because I really don't see this Mon that much at all. To be fair, I don't watch every single tournament, but I rarely see Wiggly at all anymore.
Okay, so wait, I didn't even know they ended up changing the sleep because I thought it was bugged that they didn't change it at all. So you need to take a certain amount of damage before you wake up?
You know, I don't know if it's a certain number of hits or a certain amount of damage. I believe it's a certain amount, but yes, you do wake up from sleep now.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to look it up exactly, but I'm
I
pretty
trust
sure.
you on that because,
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. So yeah, who would have thought? I agree. I would place it right there. For solo queue, I would probably place it lower even. Not in the new C tier, just maybe just above the Mamoswine, because, I don't know, Pikachu and Cramorant can probably do a little bit more in the solo queue, but again, this is just, you know, we're just grasping straws, if that is the right expression right there.
I think what you were thinking of is splitting hairs, maybe, and
Yeah, I have no clue.
It's really close. It's really close in here, because here is the thing, like, yeah, okay, you have a Wiggly on your team. Would it be that much better than a Mamo? No. You know, is it that much better than a Pikachu? No, it serves a completely different purpose. It's somewhere in here in this big group of tanky Pokemon in the middle here. They're just all pretty dang good, you know? All right, Blissey, where would you like to see Blissey?
So Blissey, I definitely think the more I play, again, I don't watch much competitive, so I'm not sure how it is there, but I would assume the Eldegoss is just better. And I feel like the more the meta progresses, I think we're gonna realize more and more that Eldegoss is actually a lot better than the Blissey. Also, Pokemon that really scaled well with Blissey, with the Helping Hand, that benefited from the bonus attack speed, are kind of not in the meta as much anymore, like that Ninetales, for example. What else is there? Sylveon doesn't care about basic attacks, so you don't really, yeah. So I feel like I would put it in the B tier even.
Yeah,
it was right behind the Eldegoss last time in our previous patch about tier list, but yeah.
I mean, I hate to do this, but I completely agree with what you're saying. It's very frustrating. Sorry, I'm moving this around so that I can get this in here so people can see it. Yeah, it's I agree. It's in the B tier. I agree with everything you're saying. it's probably super high B. But you know, one of the things it did so well with Helping Hand was to increase those basic attacks. And you'll notice there's really only a couple mons that take advantage of this so well, and that's like Cinderace, kind of Greninja, kind of, but now it's using Water Shuriken so much. Kind of Venusaur, except now it's spending so much time using its Giga Drain. It does do a lot of basics though. Because basic attacking Pokemon aren't as prevalent as sort of bursty high damage Pokemon, I do think it gets edged out by both Mr. Mime and Eldegoss there. So I'd agree with you, Shurk. It's high B. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Maybe
Greninja beats it. I don't know, but that all depends. Like,
come on, let's make Greninja beat it. Look at Greninja's little top of his head.
Yeah.
It's the same color as the B logo right there, so I feel like we just have to have it next to the B, right?
You're right. I think that only makes sense.
Beautiful.
Well, here we are. We have made it to the God tier moment, and let's just do this. What Pokemon do you think are in the running for God tier?
Okay, so how many do you want me to say?
All right, well, you say one, I'll say one, and we'll go until we think we should stop.
So let's say Lucario.
Okay. I think Greedent as well.
I think Venusaur.
Okay. And I might end it there, and I might also say Zeraora, but I might end it with those three.
I think we can end it there. If you want to include the Zeraora, I think we should also include the Cinderace.
Yeah, I think we can end it with those three. Just in my opinion, I think those are the three it's between. I have one that I believe is the choice for me personally.
And I think I will fully agree with you.
I actually think you might not. I want you to. Sure? I want you to. Here's what I'll say. Okay, given everything that's gone on with the game, and what has happened with the Lucario nerf, and the fact that Lucario is still the dominant meta inside the game, that hasn't changed. While I think Greedent is an absolutely busted Pokemon in some ways and Venusaur is absurd, my vote is actually that Lucario is the God tier Pokemon right now. That's my vote. I would love to hear your take.
So we will finally disagree.
Yes!
Although I am gonna put on my hoodie right now. You don't see it, but trust me.
I believe you. I'll do it for you.
Okay, do it for me. Thank you. because that is now the conspiracy theory of me. Because I think you just put that there so we can disagree.
What?
I think everybody with 2 eyes knows that Greedent is a completely broken, disgusting, steaming, hot pile of garbage. Yuck.
Okay. So here's my thoughts. And I would actually be fine with it being Greedent. Because at first I thought, well, it's going to be Greedent. And the more I thought about it, I just had to recognize that no matter what they do, Lucario's still Lucario. They'll release another new Mon soon, and if they don't touch Lucario, it's still going to be Lucario. So basically, it's Lucario's world, and all of these Pokemon are living in it. Now, Greedent with Covet and Belch and its Unite move, this Pokemon is insane. This Pokemon is absurd. Playing it, you feel cruel with what you can do with it, but nothing can stop Lucario. I don't know. For me, I still see Lucario maybe as the one. We might actually walk away from this tier list with 2 gods. I can't even believe that.
I would agree with that. The thing is, Lucario is like the protagonist of this anime here. But Greedent is the end boss. It's like the god, okay? Lucario is still training to beat it. And it's still not there yet, in my opinion. But I agree with what you say. You're basically saying Lucario it's like a class of its own. You need a Lucario on each side of competitive. You can't just play the game without the Lucario in tournaments, probably, is what I assume.
Yeah.
Because it's really that own kind of thing. It's an all-rounder, it's tanky, but also deals a lot of damage. And it's the only one of these that is really strong early game. So,
well, Greedent,
you really needed. Yeah. But even Greedent, I think Greedent with only tackle and defensive curl, whatever it's called, is nowhere close to the Lucario. Yeah, it's cool. It dashes around a lot, but it doesn't deal that much damage. It's not as able to last it a wild Pokemon. I really think it needs that level 7 for his little combo with the drifting Belch.
Yeah.
But but at the end of the day, you use your Unite move, you drift around, you spam Belch on a 0-second cooldown. Belch does half health of any squishy Pokemon in this game. Absolutely stupid. You can rotate a lot. It's the best solo queue thing I've ever seen, because you can just go between both lanes with the drifting move, whatever it's called, and yeah, I don't know. For me, it's clearly above Lucario, but strictly speaking from what Lucario does, don't waver, cowboy.
No,
you have a valid opinion as well. Put it back. We have 2 gods.
I think
we're not monotheistic or whatever it's called anymore.
Wow.
We pray to 2 gods on this patch.
You know, because I'm here with you, I think we will pray to 2 gods. So it's going to be Greedent and Lucario. In Shurko's A, we still have Venusaur, Zeraora, Cinderace, Talonflame, Mr. Mime, Sylveon, Eldegoss, all amazing Pokemon. The B tier, we've got Greninja, Blissey, Snorlax, Crustal, Blastoise, Wigglytuff, Pikachu, Cramorant, Mamoswine, Charizard. That new C tier, Gengar made it into that new C, and actually Ninetales fell into that new C. We've got Absol, Machamp, Ninetales, Slowbro, Gengar. You know what? Slowbro might even, just given, it might actually raise the ranks here as well. And then, of course, please don't. Not much has changed in the bottom tier of this game, unfortunately, right now. I just think these Pokemon are in a rough spot. They really are.
Yep.
Any final thoughts, Shurk?
Yeah, the patch was pretty good at the end of the day. Again, I get it. They don't make that much money. They just have the biggest IP on this planet. They need to make some more, so they can't nerf the Lucario that much. I think Venusaur was okay nerfed. Definitely needs more. It's a little bit weaker now, but yeah, I think the big issue of the patch is just they didn't patch for a full month, and they didn't buff Gardevoir, they didn't buff Garchomp enough. But other than that, not too bad. I'm having a lot of fun with this meta. And yeah, I definitely think Garchomp is absolutely busted right now, man. That buff was huge. Mamoswine didn't get touched, but everything around it just made it move to that Shurko's 80 at the top of it. And yeah, the new Pokemon, of course, is always complete trash. I don't know how it went to the God tier. I don't know what you're doing right there. Please put it.
Oh no, I'm just like kind of joking around. Like, it's obviously not Garchomp. So yeah, I mean, you're right. When they have that Sylveon nerf that destroyed it, made it unplayable, then they release another unplayable Mon, and they buff what was already one of the best Mons in the game, Garchomp. I mean, what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah, it's really sad.
The saddest thing of this whole, I would say, patch was how badly Blastoise is nerfed now. Because now I think if you're playing Blastoise, you're almost trolling at that point.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen what Hydro Pump does now? They nerfed the damage so much, and it heals you now. It's the only Pokemon that can heal enemies.
Yeah.
Absolutely mental.
I know that you're being a little hyperbolic, but basically not. It does less damage than a basic attack. So, I mean, what is the point of that? Shurk, I want to thank you for being here with me, sitting down to go over this tier list that we really refuse to agree on. That's the most exciting part about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. You can find Shurk on his own channel. I'll have links in the description of this. Is there anything you want to plug?
No, not really. Check out my channel. Thank you for having me. Thanks a ton. It's always fun to do these tier lists with you. And I love how we always disagree and have a huge fight afterwards. Looking forward to we're stepping into the MMA ring afterwards. But yeah.
That's right. Yeah. As soon as this is done, we will get into a physical fight. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for listening. I love you all, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye. Oh.